In this video tutorial, we're going to look at exploring the Dreamweaver CS6 interface and creating our first HTML and CSS document. You're now ready to go ahead and start using Dreamweaver. And to begin with, we are going to start by creating a new HTML page. And to do that, we click on HTML, Create New, right here. And so Dreamweaver will open up our website like so. Hopefully you'll see this with a split screen view. If you see some other layout for Dreamweaver, the first thing you can do to get to this screen so it looks this way is to check your layout. To check out the layout tools in Dreamweaver, you go to the Window pull-down menu and go down to where it says Workspace Layout, and you should have Designer selected here with the list of options available. If it isn't selected, go ahead and select it, or if it is selected and it doesn't look the way you want it to look, or you want to reset it at any time, you could simply go to Reset Designer and it'll reset Dreamweaver to the default layout. Now, if you don't see the split view like this with the HTML code, and HTML, by the way, stands for Hypertext Markup Language. That is the language for creating web pages. So if you don't see your HTML code on the left and your design view on the right, just make sure that the split button is pressed up here. And you notice that you've got three views in Dreamweaver CS6. You can go to Code, just see the code, go to Split, or go to Full Design View if you want. But we're going to work in Split for most of the course. We'll be working in the Split view. And so we now have an index page or an HTML page opened up, but we want to actually save this as an index page, and this is going to be the home page for our website. And we're going to do that by going to File pull-down menu, and click Save. And we're going to save it, as I said, as index.html. And I want to stress this for you right now, that you must create an index.html page if you want people to be able to get to your home page by simply typing in the domain. Then this page is going to be required, because this is the page that will be automatically opened when clients or users go to your website. So create an index.html page in your root folder at the root level, and make sure that it looks like this, not capital I in index, but lowercase index, not default.html, not myhome.html, but specifically index.html. So then you simply click Save. Notice it's going to go right into my root folder at the root level. Click Save. And so now in the top left hand side of Dreamweaver, you'll see it says index.html. So the next thing that we want to do, and then I'll take a little brief tour of Dreamweaver here and talk a little bit more about the interface. But before we move on, we want to create one more page that we're going to use to design or hold designs for our web page. And that's going to be our Cascading style sheet, or our CSS document. And to create that, we're going to go back to the File pull-down menu and select New. And we see a list of files that we can create, all sorts of different file types here. but we're going to choose, rather than HTML, we're going to choose this time CSS. And go over to Create, click Create. And so now we have a different looking document here with some different characters at the top of the page. And we're simply going to save this as, go to the File pull-down menu, and simply save. And we're going to save this document as desktop.css. And once again, we're going to save that in the root folder at the root level. So this is looking like the PowerPoint presentation that hopefully you've viewed, which is giving you the basic website architecture that I described in that PowerPoint presentation. So we're going to click Save. And now you can see down on the right-hand side of Dreamweaver, in the File panel down here, that you've got your site, your root folder, and inside there's a desktop.css, images folder, index.html file, and a media folder. And going back to the top left-hand side of Dreamweaver, all the way diagonally across the page, you'll see that we've got two tabs available, the desktop CSS and index.html document. And we can go back and forth between these two documents. And we're going to spend most of our time over here in this design view so that we can do our layout and allow Dreamweaver to populate the CSS code as we proceed here in a moment. But before we move on and start doing designing, I just want to quickly go around the Dreamweaver interface to make sure that you're comfortable and familiar with it. Most of these pull-down menus, you'll be familiar with the options and features that you see in them there. They're similar to other apps, but some of them are different. And in particular, when we get to the Insert menu, the Insert pull-down menu, you'll see the ability to insert elements of HTML, for example, that you wouldn't see in other applications, and then modify. The modify pull-down menu gives you more HTML options and options to modify tables and images and various web elements. Formatting, commands that we probably won't be really looking at in this course, but they're there nevertheless to explore. The site menu, and for those of you, if you do need to ever go back and manage sites or add new sites or change the server settings, this is where you would return back to the site setup area. And you can see here is my NOFS website that I created, and if I wanted to edit that, I would go back and click on the editing tool, little pencil tool, and it takes me back to this screen. You remember that we had in our first video tutorial when we set up the server. So this is how to get back there if you need to adjust your server settings or create, if you need to create a new site, that option is here as well. The window pull-down menu is very important to know about in Dreamweaver, because it gives you access to all of the different file panels that you see in the right-hand side of the Dreamweaver page. So the Files panel that is showing what is in my root folder is located there. Assets, snippets windows, CSS styles panel, my properties panel are checked. But if I wanted to open up behaviors or a history panel, those would be accessed from here. So if you find a panel disappears on you, you're looking for your CSS styles panel, or you want to get to assets or something else, look in the window pull-down menu here and check or uncheck the panel that you want to either make appear or disappear. And lastly, of course, there's a help area here, and you can search online for help in Dreamweaver. Across to the right-hand side, you could see the various panels that you have here. This looks familiar to Adobe users. You've seen these sorts of panels in other Adobe applications. Some of these we're not going to use. The Browser Lab we're not going to use. The insert panel we will use. And you can see here that the insert panel is collapsed at this point. So if I open it up, I can see my insert tools here a little bit better. These are indeed the same as many of these insert objects here as well. And as you probably know from working with these high-end applications, there's often two ways to do things in these applications, and Dreamweaver is no exception. There are usually 2 or 3, sometimes 4, and perhaps even 5 different ways that you can do things in Dreamweaver, and a lot of these have sort of evolved over time. So don't be surprised if you can get to the same feature or command multiple ways. Which one you choose is up to you and your work habits. But we'll review more of that as we go along. So to open or collapse a panel, you can simply double-click on the tab and it opens it up or closes it. If you want to get rid of one of these panels, I'm going to collapse this. Leave CSS styles open because we're going to be using this here shortly. But Business Catalyst, I'm going to close this panel. And so to do this, I simply click close and it gets rid of it. And so now I've got more real estate. And the 3 panels that we're really going to be using most of the time for most of this course are the Files panel, the CSS Styles panel, and the Insert panel. And so these are the 3 ones you'll be using, and try and have those open at least or ready to use through the course. Down the bottom of the page we have the Property Inspector, and this is context, a contextual inspector, meaning that if I click in an element, I will then have access to information about that element. So right now the cursor is blinking in the body of the page. Therefore, in the Property Inspector, we can see that the HTML for the body and the CSS, if we click on the CSS tab, we can style or see style rules for the body of the element. Let's switch back to HTML and we'll get into using the Property Inspector more here as we move along. Going up, you see the HTML view, the code view, and there are various coding tools along the left-hand side of the page as well here. And then finally, at the top of the Dreamweaver page screen here, you'll see a multi-screen view, a preview or debug in browser. We'll be using this to actually preview our web pages before we upload them. This is our file management window or option here. There's, once again, a couple of different ways to upload files, which I'll be showing you here when we get ready to get to that point. And some other tools as well for validation and visual aids and checking browser compatibility. And then finally at the top, you'll see that you have the ability to switch to those different views. This layout really is pretty much the same as clicking on these buttons here, and so that's another option there. And then you have the ability to use widgets or different extensions. And lastly, there's the third way that we've looked at accessing a new site or managing your sites. So we could get there from the welcome screen, or we could go from the site menu, or we could use this shortcut. So Already in this short tutorial, I've shown you 3 different ways to access the site menu in Dreamweaver. So that's a brief introduction to the Dreamweaver interface. Plus, we managed to create an index.html page and a CSS document, or a cascading style sheet, at the same time. In the next tutorial, we're going to see how to actually use these pages to put together our first elements and design our first page.